So Rhonda, it looks like we have 2 members. We're waiting a few more, correct?
Yeah, Aaron and Maylee have joined.
Okay.
Sorry, I may have misunderstood. I wasn't sure if you said Aaron. Aaron's here.
Yes, Aaron, thank you.
Okay, just making sure.
And we now have Kurt joining us. We need one more voting member to get started.
Okay.
And thank you, Rhonda.
Good morning, Chair Wessel.
Good morning. Good to see you again.
You too. We did have confirmation from City of Flagstaff, Jeff Bowman, right, Brenda?
Yes, and he's getting on right now.
Perfect.
Right.
Okay, we can get started whenever you're ready, Chair.
All right. Good morning, everybody. David Wessel with Metroplan. This is the March 3rd Transit Advisory Committee for Mountain Line Transit. Let's kick this off with a roll call, please.
Thank you, Chair and members of the TAC. Coconino County, Tiffany Kerr.
Present.
Coconino County Citizen Representative Jillian Thomas, excused. City of Flagstaff, Jeff Bowman.
Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. Metro Plan, Dave Wessel.
Present.
Thank you. NAU, Aaron Stom.
Morning here.
Good morning. NAU student Maylee Acosta.
Here.
Thank you. CCC Kurt Stull.
Good morning, here.
Good morning. Our economic development representative Gail Jackson is not with us yet, but is expected. We do have a couple guests with us. Jordan Hollinger from the City of Flagstaff for a special presentation, along with Melissa Shaw from Coconino County, sitting in for that presentation as well, and our attorney, Chris Beecher.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning. I will turn it back to you, Chair Wessel. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for being here. Next on our agenda is the safety minute with Sam Short. Sam?
Morning. Thanks, Mr. Chair and members of the Transit Advisory Committee. The first March safety minute is on the new CDC COVID-19 guidelines. On February 25th, 2022, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, announced new metrics to guide COVID-19 mitigation practices. COVID-19 community levels will now be determined based on 3 pieces of data: new COVID-19 hospitalizations, hospital capacity, and new COVID-19 cases. Categories for COVID-19 community levels have changed to 3 levels: low or green, medium, which is yellow, and high, which is orange. According to the new CDC guidelines, counties in low and medium levels can consider going without masks in public indoor settings. including schools and on school transportation. In high level, the CDC recommends masks in all public indoor settings, including schools. Using the new metrics, Coconino County's COVID-19 community level is medium. The CDC recommends the following guidelines for communities in medium level. If you are at high risk for severe illness, talk to your healthcare provider about whether you need to wear a mask and take other precautions. Stay up to date with COVID-19 vaccines and boosters. Get tested if you have symptoms. For people with symptoms, a positive test or exposure to someone with COVID-19 should wear a mask regardless of community level. Immunocompromised individuals or those living with someone who is immunocompromised are encouraged to continue maximum measures. Individuals are encouraged to mask to their comfort and risk level. Individual decisions to mask or not to mask based on individual circumstances should be supported and respected. Thank you and welcome to the March Transit Advisory Committee meeting.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that. Nice to see things moving in the right direction across the country. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the TAC minutes for February 3rd, 2022. Any discussion on that from the TAC members? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Good morning, it's Erin. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Aaron. We have a motion from Aaron Stamm. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
And who is this?
Kurt, so.
Kurt, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No further discussion? Then let's call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing no opposition, this is passed unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the Flagstaff Regional Plan presentation. And I know, Heather, I'm going to kind of look to you. We talked about possibly reworking the agenda due to having everybody present for that presentation. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you to see where we stand and if we want to move on to the action items.
Thank you, Chair Wessel. The recommendation is that we go ahead and handle outlines for discussion action items as well as the consent item, returning to this item after those official business items. That gives the team that will be presenting on this an opportunity to all be present. I think one of them is not able to join until after 10:30 this month.
Okay, so it's still the case. Then excellent. Let's move on then to item 6, the TAC agenda. The first item is the election of a vice chair. And I'm going to turn this over to Rhonda Cashman. Rhonda?
Thank you, Chair and members of the TAC. With the departure of Chair Shane Dilley from the city, the rules of procedure allow for the vice chair to ascend to the chair position. So we're just asking the TAC to affirm that in the action today, as well as elect a new vice chair. And all other members of the TAC are eligible, with the caveat that Melia Costa is an ex officio non-voting member and alternates are not eligible. And so with that, we can open the floor to nominations.
Thank you, Rhonda. Any volunteers or people willing to volunteer someone else? If it helps, there's very low risk that I'll be abandoning my post similar to Mr. Dilley. So your probability of having this to ascend into the chair is pretty low.
Mr. Chair, this is Jeff.
Yes.
Was the first order of business to affirm that you are ascending to chair? Do we need to take care of that? That's the easy move.
Thank you. Rhonda, are we looking for two separate actions here, or can we do this and are you looking for a singular action?
It's really up to however you want to do that.
Well, let's go ahead and affirm my ascension. It sounds awfully lofty, but let's, I'll take a motion to affirm my role as chair.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
This is Aaron. I second with a good chuckle, Dave. Thank you.
Okay, so all in favor of my ascension, and it just sounds, like I said, awfully.
I love it. It's great.
Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed.
Aye.
Okay, so I am now officially chair. Thank you for that vote of confidence. Now, if I can have somebody get my back and serve as vice chair, I'd appreciate that. So do we have any nominations for the vice chair?
I'm just going to, it's Aaron. I'm trying.
Yes.
I just want folks to know I have served as chair and vice chair multiple years. And so I'm trying to take a step back, and I strongly encourage people just to throw your hat into the ring. It is an easy gig. Mountain Line team does everything for us. It's really about just leading this group through the meetings and helping to have good conversations. And so I'm strongly encouraging somebody else to step up.
So I'm gonna call out a name here, and you'll have to forgive me later. But Gail Jackson, would you be willing to serve as vice chair?
That's very kind of you. I appreciate you thinking of me, Chair Wessel, but I am going to have to respectfully decline at this time. But thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you. Well, for interest of time,
Dave, it's Aaron. I'll do it.
no, Aaron,
It's okay. It's okay. I don't like the deafening silence. So
Yeah.
maybe, no, I'm totally fine to do it. Like I said, I know it's an easy gig. I'm very comfortable doing it. So it's fine.
I'll do my best to leave your vice chair as inactive as possible. Thank you very much. Any other nominations? I don't know that we need a second since she's the sole and only. So all in favor of Aaron Stamm as our vice chair?
I think we do need a second.
Okay, we'll take a second. We'll have her I will move that she be nominated as vice chair. We have a second.
I second.
And who is that?
Tiffany Kerr.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of Aaron Stamm as vice chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Aaron, thank you for your service. Appreciate it. Let's move on then to the next item, which is the review of the draft board business agenda. Is anybody interested in pulling the consent item, update of user fee schedule for discussion? I don't hear anyone speaking up on that, so let's move to section B and the reopening plan and removing the mask mandate. And Sam Short, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Transit Advisory Committee. Next slide, please, Rhonda. So as outlined in previous progress reports, since February 25th, 2021, Mountain Line has been required to follow the Transportation Security Administration Security Directive, which requires face masks to be worn across all modes of transportation. So this requires anyone occupying a transit vehicle, a building, or a service stop to wear a face mask. This security directive has been renewed 3 times previously, and it is currently set to expire on March 18th, which is this month, 2 weeks from tomorrow. In previous iterations, prior to its expiration, we've always been told that it was going to renew at least 2 to 3 weeks before the expiration date. Next slide, please, Rhonda. So current conditions, we are still currently following the TSA directive. However, new guidelines have been issued from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, which is what I outlined in the safety minute. Also recently this week, Coconino County and the city of Flagstaff have begun following these new CDC guidelines, which do not require a mask in our current COVID-19 levels. The Mountain Line is, since COVID has begun, Mountain Line has always tried to mirror the city and county's mitigation practices so that we all show a uniformed approach and that it shows that we're all working together to try to combat the pandemic. Next slide, please, Rhonda. So since the TSA security directive has been in place, Mountain Line has seen a strong increase in challenging encounters from passengers who do not want to abide by the security directive and do not want to wear a mask because generally they're not required to anywhere else other than on public transportation. So because of those encounters, our staff have had to take more time than normal to deal with those challenging encounters. And this has also caused various service delays on various routes. Mountain Line currently uses approximately 3,000 masks per month, which costs around $1,500 per month. We have to hand out masks to our customers because if we didn't, we would not have near the ridership that we currently do. We have received mask donations from Coconino County and other entities, but if this security directive does not expire or the board does not approve removing the mask mandate, if it is expired, then we will be required to purchase more masks to continue with the security directive past March 18th. Next slide, please. So at the board meeting, we will be asking the board to approve removing the mask mandate only if the Transportation Security Administration security directive does expire on March 18th. Any questions?
Thank you, Sam. Any questions for Sam? Okay, well, thank you very much for that update, Sam.
Thank you, sir.
Let's move on to item B2, which is the fiscal year 21 financial audit report. Josh Stone, Management Services Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, everyone. I don't have any slides. Hopefully this agenda item should be brief. Mountain Line is required every year to complete an annual audit conducted by an independent firm following the end of the fiscal year. We have contracted with accounting firm Fester and Chapman for this service. Once the report has been issued, the board needs to approve the report, and then certified copies are filed with everyone appropriate. We just received the final issuance of our fiscal year 2021, which was the year ending June 30th, 2021, financial audit Monday. So that will be dated the 28th of February. We are required to complete and file a report each year by March 31st. So we're within the acceptable filing period. The financial audit went very smoothly this year, and I can report that there were no findings, no material weaknesses, and no significant deficiencies noted in the audit. So good news all around, and thank you to everyone on staff that contributes every day to making sure records are being kept accurately. The final report will be provided at the March board meeting coming up in a couple weeks for approval. And I believe that's all I have for this agenda item.
Thank you, Josh. Any questions or comments for Josh regarding the audit? Well, hearing none, just want to say, thank you for your good work and the work of your team. Appreciate you acknowledging them. This, Mountain Lion has an excellent track record, and I'm glad you guys are maintaining it. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I may interrupt, I'd like to take this moment to introduce Josh as our new Management Services Director. Josh has been with the organization about 3 years, working in our financial department. And when the job opened, he did apply for it along with several other qualified candidates and was selected for the job. And we're very excited to have him to continue in lead of our financial functions. As evidenced by the audit, our financial team does great work. And so I wanted to introduce him and congratulate him on his position and echo your sentiments. Thanks to our team. I know it takes a lot of effort from HR, procurement, and finance, as well as all of our daily activities with our staff members to ensure that we're doing this record keeping, following our policies, and it's no short task. So thanks for the opportunity to recognize Josh.
Yeah, congratulations. All right, let's move on to item 3, the award for request for proposal 2022-140 construction manager at risk, also known as CMAR, and this is for the Downtown Connection Center. Kate Morley. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Dave. Thank you, Chair, members of the TAC. Rhonda, you can move to the next slide. So we've been very excited to keep pursuing construction on the Downtown Connection Center this summer. And this winter opened up a competitive RFP for a construction manager at risk to deliver the construction of the project for us. We had a selection committee that consisted of 2 staff members, myself included, 2 of our owners reps from Nations Group that we hired to help deliver the project for us, and then 1 licensed contractor on the selection team. We reviewed all the proposals, scored them, and then also conducted interviews of all 3 respondents, and have found that Levin Contracting was the best value of our selection committee. Next slide. So there's a couple reasons for this. One really strong one is that Levin really identified clear project roles amongst their team. So each team member had a clearly defined role on the project, and that was a big deal for us. They also had a very thoughtful and logical approach to how they were going to work with stakeholders, both internally and on with our neighbors on the property, et cetera. And they also had done some extensive pre-construction planning related to site conditions and solutions for some of the challenges that we were going to see on site. Next slide. So there's under the CMAR contract, there will be multiple tasks to be awarded. I do have an error in my staff report that I will fix for the board where it says it's phase 1, but it's really the construction of the entire project. The first task to be awarded would be pre-construction services. Then we would move into the demo of the existing building and setting up temporary service, a temporary comfort station for our operators. They need restrooms and a break space. Phase 1 then would be issued, and that would be the construction of the building. And then phase 2 would be the construction of the bus space and the civic space. The total estimated construction cost for the project is $25 million through all these phases. Fantastic. Next slide. So with that, what we're looking is that the board of directors award the procurement and then authorize our CEO and general manager, Heather Domlin, to approve the contract and associated task orders moving forward. And with that, I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kate. Any questions for Kate? I think if I pull up the participant list, I don't see any hands raised. Kate, for kind of my benefit, could you explain CMAR a little bit in terms of how that's going to work and play out?
Yeah, so they'll work with the construction manager at risk will work with our final design teams, which we are working through scope and fee negotiations with several firms, one an engineering firm and one an architecture firm. So they'll work together to get to final design in a way that is cost effective and has the constructability reviews. That's part of that pre-construction services. And then we'll issue these task orders for the CMAR to procure subcontractors, procure associated equipment or building supplies to get the project completed. So, and then they will manage all the construction aspects, so all the subcontractors, and work with adjacent stakeholders, help us problem solve, deal with supply chain issues. So those are all the things that the CMAR will do for us. We could have pursued other options, such as a design build. We would have had to make that decision very early in the process. And we could have also done a design bid build, which we preferred the CMAR option as a way to have some overlap for those constructability reviews with the final design team to ensure that what they're designing is cost effective for us moving forward into construction.
Great. And is there a guaranteed maximum price under a CMAR?
We will issue, those tasks will be GMP. So they'll do pre-construction services, and then each of the following phases will be guaranteed maximum price.
Okay.
But they won't develop those until we get to each phase.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate the explanation. Again, I'll look, this is a very significant project. I'm really excited to see it moving forward. I'll look to the advisory committee members. Any other questions for Kate? Okay. Good luck with the board. This is very exciting.
Thank you.
The next item 4 is the fiscal year 2023 operating budget. And we're back to our new management service director, Josh Stone. Josh.
All right, thank you. This morning in our budget series, we are focusing on the remainder of the main operating portion of our budget, our fiscal 2023 budget. We're broken out our presentation of the overall budget into a few major sections that are being presented over the months, and then the final wrap up towards the end of the fiscal year. You'll remember in February, Heather provided an overview of the workforce budget, which includes salaries and benefits and a few relevant line items, such as employee recognition, training, and recruitment. So for today, that leaves the rest of operating. Operating expenses are just all the expenses involved with the regular operation of our various programs. Rhonda, you can move it to the next slide. So our overall operating budget will increase by 12.7%, from just under 10 million to about 11.2 million. Of this 11.2 million, our largest expense, of course, is our workforce, with salaries and benefits taking up about 70% of the budget. As discussed in February, the workforce budget is seeing a $775,000 increase, which is really an investment in recognizing our staff with a competitive compensation package that in the last several months has been quite successful. We've been quite successful at filling staff positions that are needed and retaining staff. The rest of the budget is comprised of a variety of categories of expenses supporting our programs. And this portion of the operating budget is increasing about 17.4%. Staff have worked hard to identify which increases are absolutely necessary. And really, we've isolated the entirety of the increase to just 5 expense categories. Rhonda, you can move to the next slide. So I've tried to isolate where we're seeing increased expenses into just a handful of categories. Most of them are sort of direct costs associated with moving our buses down the road. Our largest increase is found in our fuel cost, which I'm sure everyone has noticed at the pumps when you fill up your own vehicle. That has substantially increased over the past year. I'm not sure that we're likely to see any relief soon. So although the budget sees there's no change in service miles traveled, the budget for this line is increasing 71%, which is about $300,000. I think we're hopeful that as there's a slow transition to all electric buses, that energy costs will be more stable throughout time. The next increase is found in revenue vehicle parts, which are seeing about a 10.4% increase. Some increases due to supply chain constraints. There's, parts are more expensive. And another contributor to this is the overall age of our fleet is getting up there. Our mechanics do a great job keeping the buses in good repair, but the average age of the buses is increasing, and sometimes they need a little extra TLC. So the next increase is attributable to our insurance, seeing a 26% increase. I think this has been an ongoing challenge the last several years, with insurance costs escalating quite a bit. The next increase is change to our legislative liaison with an increase of 42%. This is all due to the addition of a state legislative liaison. We're finding that our state legislative liaison is a good tool for us to have. Helps us build relationships with the various legislators and keeping track of legislation priorities in the state, and potentially helping to open the doors to additional state funding resources. And then the final piece in this section is actually a new item where we have contracted with a janitorial service to clean the buses. So previously this task was performed by a few in-house, I think mostly part-time positions. In the course of regular turnover, and there's been a bit of a reassignment, we decided not to refill those positions. So instead we're reallocating that budget to the cleaning contract. So this line is all new, but the expense is actually not new. It's just kind of a reallocation from a different area. So those are the increases. As I said before, we tried our best to stick to items where increases are necessary. Purchasing fuel to move the buses is unavoidable, but we could keep an eye on copy paper, for example. Probably a poor example, actually, because the scale of those items are so different. But I hope you get the point. Keeping that in mind, the total of all other program expenses is seeing a decrease of 4% for the fiscal year 2023. Everything here includes, all the other associated things: HR, IT services, marketing, legal services, and everything else that's supporting the business operations. Rhonda, next slide, please. That's it. So that's really all I have for today in the operating budget. There's a few very specific items driving the increase in the budget, and we've tried our best to reduce or keep flat everything else as appropriate. I think that's all I have. If anybody has any specific questions that we can do our best to answer.
Excellent. Thank you, Josh. Any questions for Josh regarding the operating budget? Excellent. I just have one comment on your previous slide. You mentioned that vehicle cleaning is a new expense, but then in your presentation, you described it as an allocation, a reallocation. And I'm just wondering if that's a better way to.
It's kind of being moved from salaries and benefits into
Okay.
the operating category.
All right. So, okay. Excellent. I have no other questions or comments. So appreciate your presentation, Josh, and we'll move on to the next item. Thank you. I think this is the point, Heather, that we're going to circle back to
Yes, if Jordan
Good.
and his team are ready. Mhm.
for the presentation. Yeah. Mr. Hollinger, are you ready?
Am, and I believe Melissa is here too. So thanks for accommodating us in that way. Really appreciate that. All right. Yeah, so everyone can hear me okay?
Just fine. Thank you.
Great. I'm Jordan Hollinger. I'm an associate planner with the City of Flagstaff comprehensive planning team. It's really good to be here with you today to present on the Flagstaff regional plan and our process for updating that. Also with me, I think as Rhonda mentioned, is Melissa Shaw, long-range planner with Coconino County. So happy to have her along as well. Hopefully you saw that there will be an interactive component for committee members at the end of this presentation that will involve accessing a website to participate in a SWOT analysis looking at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats of the regional plan. I was planning to put a link to that website in the chat right now. It doesn't look like I can actually send a message to everybody. I can send one to James Olson. Is it possible to relay that to everybody else through that means?
Yes.
Okay, let me put that in there. So I just wanted to provide that now, just so it gives everyone, all the committee members, an opportunity to try to get into that system. It just asks for your email address and name, and it should take you to a digital whiteboard, a colorful digital whiteboard with 4 grids. All right, and I think I can share my screen now. And everyone can see that presentation okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. All right, so in the presentation today, I'll cover a little bit about what the regional plan is, what's in the current regional plan, what we are doing to update the regional plan, and then as I mentioned, we're hopefully going to have all the committee members participate in a SWOT analysis at the end. So this diagram describes the different levels of planning that the city does. So the regional plan you can see there is the broadest policy document at the top of this pyramid, and it's the only one besides the city charter that is ratified by voters. Underneath that, we have specific plans like the high occupancy housing plan, La Plaza Vieja, South Side area plans, and then a lot of other strategic plans as well that fall into that category. And then at the bottom of this triangle, we have implementation, city codes like the zoning code, engineering standards, and really anything that is a city standard or can apply to development or city projects falls into that green category. So unlike a lot of other municipalities in Arizona, our general plan at the city is called a regional plan. And we call it a regional plan because it is regional in nature. We co-create the plan with Coconino County to cover a 525 square mile area that corresponds to the FMPO planning area. So as much as the regional plan is a document that is focused on land use and the built environment, it is very closely tied to our transportation planning area as well. So within the city of Flagstaff, the regional plan does serve as our general plan, which is ratified by voters every 10 years. And as I said, it primarily supports land use decisions and policy making. Within Coconino County, the regional plan is an amendment to the county's comprehensive plan. And instead of being ratified by voters, it's adopted by the Board of Supervisors as a major plan amendment. And it provides a map of area and place types that can be further refined by other area plans that the county adopts. So this is the area that the regional plan covers. This map in particular is a really essential component of the regional plan. It's the what we call the future growth illustration for the region, which essentially is the desired future land uses for the city. And it's a map on which we base our future water consumption and demand trends, as well as our future transportation projections as well. So the current regional plan was adopted in 2014, and the public had some pretty clear asks or requirements for the plan that included holding the government accountable for publicly derived policy outcomes and goals. They wanted to see it guide physical and economic development throughout the region. They wanted the plan to establish priorities, direction for complementary private decisions, and then to encourage predictable decision making. In terms of what's in the current plan, it is very heavy and robust on goals and policies. It contains 97 goals and 508 policies to achieve those goals. And one of the challenges that we know that we have with the current plan is that there is no prioritization of the goals and policies. So you saw on the last slide that was something that the public wanted out of the plan, to prioritize actions. And we didn't end up getting that in a really clear way. And 97 goals and 508 policies, that's a lot to look at once. And we've definitely had that feedback from council, developers, staff, and even the public, who suggest that it's hard to understand the trade-offs between such a long list of goals and policies without some sort of clear prioritization. And then, as I mentioned, it also contains the generalized land use map, or the future growth illustration that I showed earlier, that visualizes kind of our desired land development pattern. It provides a basis for transportation modeling, has a really strong multimodal emphasis, and then it also provides a foundation for a sustainable water supply for the city. So jumping into the transportation and transit specific section of the regional plan, which is found in chapter 10. Hopefully some or all of you are either familiar with that section already or had a chance to look over chapter 10 before the presentation. But I'll go over it at a high level anyway, in case you didn't. So I've thrown in the vision statement for the transportation section here on the left, and it states, in 2030, people get around where they need to be in an efficient and safe manner, and more people ride the bus, their bikes, and walk, reducing emissions and increasing health. So that's really the overarching vision for the entire transportation section, or the entire transportation chapter. And then on the right, you can see all the various components of the transportation chapter, lots of topics covered throughout it. Part of the transportation section includes an evaluation or a look at current and future road types. This is actually the circulation map for the plan, which is a requirement for city general plans. The map includes all existing roads from collectors and up, and rough approximations of future roadway needs. Although the network, I'm sure, looks somewhat familiar, the classification system on the right, unless you're really familiar with the regional plan, might not look so familiar. And that's because there was a decision made to classify the map a little differently and include a broader description of the type of travel the roads serve. So roads for regional travel in black, roads for circulation in blue, and access roads are in orange and yellow. Of course, we also had the functional road classification system found in the city's engineering standards. That's certainly more detailed than this. But to my knowledge, when the regional plan was adopted, this map and that classification system were reconciled. The transportation section also includes a look at planned transit service levels, which is what this map is showing. To my knowledge, this hasn't been updated to correspond exactly to Mountain Line's planning documents, I believe, a number of which have been adopted since the regional plan was adopted. So it may not be fully calibrated or correspond perfectly to our current understanding of system and needs. So certainly this is something that we hope to collaborate closely with this committee as well as Mountain Line as we start the regional plan update process. So jumping into specific transit goals and policies, there's one overarching transit goal and 6 policies that fall underneath that. I have 3 of those policies on this slide and 3 on the next. So the overarching goal is to provide a high quality, safe, convenient, accessible public transportation system where feasible to serve as an attractive alternative to single occupant vehicles. And then in terms of the policies, I'll just summarize those. They include collaborating with NEPA on the 5-year transit plan, planning for transit centers that are distributed throughout the community, general support for an extensive transit system, providing transit services to seniors, finding ways to incorporate good multimodal planning into the permitting processes that we have, and then again, working with NEPA to expand service into the county. So here are those additional 3 policies. And then the plan also includes a lot of other general transportation goals and policies that certainly seek to support a multimodal system and cover things like better connectivity, especially for bike and pedestrians, things that we know support that last mile connectivity to and from transit. Calls for complete street guidelines and context sensitive solutions, and then a prominent emphasis on safety for all modes. The plan also includes a lot of goals and policies around land use and the built environment as well. Of course, that's one of the key elements of the regional plan is to guide physical development. And one of the things that the plan calls for is connecting land use decisions with transportation planning. And as part of that, promoting land use patterns that are transit supportive. So a part of the regional plan includes what we call activity centers, which is an idea that we can have these nodes of mix of uses and higher density when compared with their surrounding areas at different points throughout our community. 2 things that when paired we know are transit supportive. And then, really trying to bring the public into just, the general planning conversation as well as the transportation planning conversation and really gain support towards that multimodal vision. Of course, the regional plan is not the only plan that works towards a transit forward or supportive community. We have the regional transportation plan, which looks at the whole transportation system in detail going out into the future. We have the 5-year transit plan. And then a recent addition to the conversation is certainly the carbon neutrality plan, which recognizes that for a lot of us, our primary source of carbon emissions is our personal vehicle, and trying to get us to move away from using that as our primary means of transportation and into transit or walking, biking, or other pedestrian means. So how are we going to go from our current regional plan and other supporting documents to our new regional plan? Well, our intent is to develop the plan over 4 years, corresponding to 4 different phases of public participation and development. We are currently in, so those 4 phases you can see on the screen here. We are currently in phase 1, which is really about getting curious and informing the public and our partners about the process and the plan. And it also involves getting familiar with what we know, but also what we're uncertain about, where we have a lot of questions. So a big part of phase one so far has been that we've been doing these informational webinars that we're calling snapshots every week on all the topics that the regional plan covers, as well as starting to write some short informational papers on those same topics. We've done about 17 of those webinars so far. We record them, they're every Monday. We have a total of 24 planned, and you can find all of the recorded ones on the city's YouTube channel, as well as on our regional plan update website. So for us, the next part of phase one that we're now starting to engage in is trying to gain insight from all city, county, and partner commissions and committees, and trying to understand their relationship with the regional plan, how they perceive its successes, failures, and opportunities. And that's why we'll do the SWOT analysis at the end. And then starting in this summer, fingers crossed, we'll be starting to do public meetings in person again to start to connect with the community. So to develop the next regional plan, there are a lot of different components. I just showed you the overview of the process, but the ingredients are many and varied as well. These are just some of them. We'll be looking at organizational planning, existing specific and area plans, other policy and plan documents. We'll be doing a lot of data analysis and forecasting, engaging with the community about their values and beliefs, and continuing to partner within and across government agencies and departments. In terms of data and modeling, we are collecting over 180 data points. We've already begun to collect a lot of that data for the snapshots that we've been doing, but we'll continue to update those data points and perform additional analysis and modeling throughout the update process. And then finally, of course, we will also explore and incorporate a lot of emerging issues that the current regional plan was initially fairly quiet on. So climate change and carbon neutrality. Of course, we have the carbon neutrality plan now that did lead to a major plan amendment. We have equity and inclusion that the current regional plan was fairly quiet on when it was adopted. Now we have the 10-year housing plan that is really helping to inform additional housing affordability strategies. Very salient still right now is public health. And then since the regional plan was adopted, of course, we've had a lot of progress towards vehicle automation and the electrification of our transportation system, as well as understanding the importance of broadband and high-speed internet as an essential utility. So that is it in terms of the presentation. So now hopefully we can transition to a brief SWOT analysis with the committee members. And what we are asking you to do as part of this the SWOT analysis is to consider these 4 questions on the screen here. So for the strengths and weaknesses, we're asking you to look at the current regional plan and think of things, ideas, strengths of the current regional plan, as well as weaknesses of the current regional plan. And then for opportunities and threats, we are asking you to think into the future about the update process, and for opportunities, what opportunities we have that we didn't have in the past, and for threats, what could negatively impact the creation or implementation of an updated regional plan. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that presentation and hopefully, great, I see a lot of you in here already. That's perfect. So what you see here, hopefully you're all in here, and this is should look pretty straightforward, but we have 4 different grids here. A grid for strengths, a grid for weaknesses, a grid for opportunities, and then one for threats. And the way that you contribute to this is by clicking on this little plus sign in any of the box, and it allows you to type in a response. So I'll just show you how this works. So you can type whatever you want into one of these, press enter, and it should populate. And then if you want to edit one of the ideas that you've populated this with, you can click on it and just click this little edit button. You're also able to comment on other people's ideas, and you can do that by, again, clicking on the idea and then inserting a comment below the parent idea. So please feel free to go. I see I see that people are already starting with this, so that's great. So I will leave a number of minutes for you all to start populating this. It is helpful if you can be as specific as possible. I'll be monitoring this and trying to get clarification for anything that isn't at least clear to me. And then after we have gone through the process of populating these ideas, we'll actually go into a rating session where you can rate all of the ideas that have been populated in terms of your perceived importance of that idea. So please feel free to go ahead and get started in all four of the grids here. If you have any questions, please let me know, or if you're having any difficulty, please let me know. I can also bring up, if it's helpful, any of the slides that I presented. So yeah, I guess I'll be quiet for a little bit. Jeff, the support for housing density that you put in here, I assume because that's under threats, that's lack of support for that.
I can add a little more text to that. Yeah, that it's that typical issue of it looks really good until it's proposed in your neighborhood.
Yep. Great.
Jordan, if we support a comment that's already made, is there a way to do that? Perhaps I missed that.
So you can, if you would like, you can comment on somebody else's idea. That's kind of the main way in this session. We will be going into a rating session after we're done populating ideas here, where you'll be rating on a scale of 1 to 10. So if you want to do that now, you can click on an idea and just add a comment and say, yes, agree, or something like that, or you can wait until the rating session.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
Please do.
Are staff to participate in this or just TAC members?
So our intent is to kind of leave that up to each committee or commission. So our intent is to have committee members to participate, but if the committee is okay with staff members participating as well, we're happy to have them participate as well.
Thank you. Dave, I'll leave that to you then.
I will ask just the TAC members to participate. I believe staff will have opportunities throughout the process to engage on the regional plan, and I think it'll be useful to have more clarity as to who is being heard from at these various meetings.
Thanks
Great,
for clarifying.
And if anyone has any questions while you're doing this, or isn't sure whether something's an appropriate comment, feel free to ask. And I guess I didn't mention, but feel free to also think. I'm seeing stuff very much related to transit in here, but you guys are experts in that, and certainly coming at this with that lens is really helpful for us as well.
Chair Russell, we have Sarah Dechter joining us from the City of Flagstaff right now.
Excellent. Good morning, Sarah, and welcome.
So I'm only seeing Dave is the only one typing right now. So if people are kind of wrapping up their ideas, wait till that last idea, and we can go on to the rating session. Not to rush you.
No, but let me ask: would anybody like a little more time?
I see Jeff typing.
Okay, let's take. See, it's 11 o'clock. Let's just do 2 more minutes.
Okay. Thanks.
This was a 2-minute warning. Okay, I see it's 11:02. So,
Alrighty.
Mr. Hollander, back to you.
All right, so we're now going to move on to rating these ideas, and it's pretty easy to do this. So you now see this little slider at the end of each idea. So just take that and move that either up or down based on your perceived importance of that idea. So the closer you are to 10, the more important of an idea you think it is. You're not necessarily ranking these, it's just each one how important you think it is. So feel free to go ahead and start doing that to any and all.
I am not seeing the bands. Am I doing something wrong? Is anybody else having the same problem?
Yeah, my view is not the same as what's on the screen here.
It's working for me.
I think the instructions that was left out is you have to click that rate button up
Oh,
at the
thanks.
Oh, there we go.
in the upper
Thank
left
you.
hand corner.
That's it.
Thank
Now
you,
we're
Sarah.
there.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I saw this done yesterday, so I knew what to do.
Well, I did too, so I have no excuse.
Ah, Dave.
For those of us less educated, what the heck is a NIMBY?
NIMBY stands for Not in My Backyard. So
Oh,
it is related to people. It is a term that is used to
no,
describe.
I get the
people.
not
Yeah.
in my backyard thing. Yeah, no,
Okay.
that I get.
Great.
I just didn't, I've never heard of NIMBY. And I assume bananas just means they're going crazy, right? That doesn't stand for anything else.
Build absolutely nothing anywhere near anyone.
Is that really what it
That's
stands
correct.
for?
Yeah.
That is
Oh my
correct.
God. People have a lot of time on their hands to come up with that kind of stuff. Okay, thank you.
I think it's that planners have observed this phenomenon multiple times and came up with clever acronyms, as planners are wont to do.
I'm just moving my screen to the results so I can see what's been rated and not rated yet. Not to influence any remaining ratings. Don't let this influence you. All right, so I'm seeing that looks like a lot of ratings coming in for all of these. So that is great. As you finish up rating those, I'll stop sharing my screen here. So feel free to just continue finishing that up. So you are the third committee / commission to participate in this, and we are also really open to any feedback you have about this process, what you thought about it. We'll continue to fine tune it as we go to over 20 different commissions. So also eager to hear your feedback about how this went and pros, cons.
Maybe have a question for those more observant than I. Did we see when Jordan actually started this presentation?
Chair Wessel, this is Rhonda, and I didn't get the exact time, but I believe it was around 10:35.
Okay, so right at about a half an hour. That's probably upper limit of where you want to be. Are we concluding the presentation here? Are we pretty well wrapped up?
Yep. This is the wrap up. So the SWOT analysis was the end, and yeah, just any comments you have is what we'll leave with.
Okay, I like the process. I think it's fairly effective in terms of getting a more measured response as well as participation from everybody.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Hey, Dave, it's Erin. The only other comment I would make is that if you're presenting at places that with people who've never done a SWOT analysis, that might take a little more directive leading. I had noticed on the actual website before we started populating it under strengths, it said something about weaknesses. And I think that was just an error, unless the phrasing of the question was done so in a way that maybe I wasn't understanding it. But yeah, that would be my only thing for people who, I don't know where you're presenting, but there may be some people in some places that this is not commonplace.
Great, yeah, thank you for that. That's a really helpful lens to move forward with, and it is possible that maybe there was an error in maybe we copied and pasted something incorrectly within that strengths column. So we'll take a look at that. So thanks a lot for the comment and catching that.
Okay, any other comments or questions, either about the process or the presentation?
This is Jeff. I have one quick. Jordan,
Okay.
yeah, when you click on the 3 dots next to the word strengths in that first page, it has the description for weaknesses. I'm sure it was just a copy and paste. So that's what Aaron was talking about to help focus you. I enjoyed doing that interactive exercise, but I think it's probably a lot harder for people that haven't spent much time in the regional plan.
Mhm.
I mean, that's obvious, but so probably depending on your group, you may not get a ton of input because just watching the presentation is not going to give people enough information. At least for me, I filled this out based on what I know outside of your presentation. So I
Okay.
think just be ready. You probably already knew that, but be ready when you get to certain
Yep.
groups that don't
Yep.
have a lot of experience. This may be
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
flat.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Yeah, we have heard that this week with the other commissions that we've been to as well, just in terms of familiarity and time as well. So appreciate that.
Well, I think that's something to know. You know, here's our overarching policy document, and our boards and commissions may not be familiar with it, and that's valuable to understand as well. I'll make a last call here for questions or comments.
Martin Ince, if I can, David, he recommended yesterday that we tell all future commissions that when we send them the chapters of the plan, that there will be a test.
Excellent. So that section on transit here is, hopefully pretty manageable. Or are we subject to the entire transportation element?
I would let you determine the scope of your test.
All right. Well, again, thank you for your time today, Jordan, Melissa, and Sarah. Appreciate it. I know it's a very large task ahead of you, but it's really important, and I'm glad it's in such good hands. So,
great. Thank you all.
All right. I believe that brings us back to progress reports, operations status report. This is, we don't actually have reports on these unless people have questions based on what they've read in the staff reports. So any questions for Mr. Wagner about the operations status report? Hearing none. Summary of current events. And Heather, I believe there was 1 or 2 additional events that have transpired that you wanted to report on. Is that correct?
Yes, if I could, thank you for a few more moments of your time. So when we have items that come up between the packets being mailed and our meeting, I like to add them because we're going to add them to the report for the board of directors. We start to get a little bit out of sync. So a couple of things that are changes or clarifications from items in the report that was provided. We have received an update on the state funding and the status of that request. We did learn recently that it has actually been pulled from both the House and the Senate agendas. It is being combined into the budget reconciliation bill that will be considered as part of the state budget setting process. So we're not clear on whether that's actually good news or bad news. We are focusing on that at least we know we're going to have a chance within the budget process. So we will continue meeting with representatives about the priority of the project, its regional impact. Representative Blackman is doing a fabulous job representing this bill on our behalf as well. So wanted to provide that update. We don't anticipate a hearing with either the House or the Senate at this point in time. Another update, we had reported last month that we were making an offer on the operations manager's job. That is the job that Randy Biles vacated late in December. Unfortunately, our chosen applicant has withdrawn. So we are back to opening that position and seeking additional candidates that are interested. So disappointed to hear that the candidate had to withdraw, and He did cite cost of housing in Flagstaff as a factor in his decision-making, which none of us were surprised to hear. And again, reinforces that we need to focus on how we can help folks that want to transition to our community. How can we help make that an option for them? I wanted to share a little bit of good news. Busy Collins has led the effort to certify our automatic people counters. These are the mechanisms on our buses that count the number of people that get on and get off at every bus stop so that we can calculate what's called passenger miles, how long each passenger travels. The data on passenger miles is extremely important to our federal funding, and we have to certify those people counters every 3 years. And Busy was successful in getting that certified. And I actually would like to share with you that the staff at this contractor at FTA did communicate to us they've never had an agency have their APC certification approved on the first attempt. So I really want to compliment Busy and her efforts to do that fabulous job in getting that done quickly, efficiently, and accurately. And then lastly, want to point to the couple of anniversaries that are in the current events report. Adam Everett, he goes by Ace here, has been with us for 13 years and has been a real key member of our maintenance team. He actually was very influential in how our shop is set up and how we do a lot of things. He was lead in the driver's barrier that has been put in on all of our buses to make a secure and safe space for our operators. Additionally, there were a couple of operators. Marvin Shee has been with us 9 years. Arlinda Yazzie is just celebrating her 2nd year with us. And Joshua Reynolds has now been here 5 years. And Lisa Connor serves as our eligibility specialist, so a key member of our paratransit team, and she is celebrating her 3rd year with us. And I did already congratulate Josh, but I'll say again, Josh did take the job of Management Services Director, and we're very excited about that opportunity for Mountain Line. And that's everything I have on the current events, unless you have questions for me.
Thank you. Any questions for Heather on current events? Well, thank you, Heather. Appreciate that. That brings us down to items from committee and staff. The next TAC meeting is April 7th at 10 a.m. So just kind of go around the room, virtually speaking. Actually, I'll call this up. Anything from anyone on the board, or excuse me, on the committee as we close?
This is Tiffany with the county.
Yes.
We were informed yesterday that, and this might be something to follow up with Talarita Rogers of NACA. She is stepping down from her position at NACA. Her last day will be next Friday. And I would also request that you seek an update about their resource center. We learned yesterday that is also not happening anymore.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for that update. And I'm confident that Mountain Lion staff will reach out to NACA to learn more about that. Any other comments or reports, updates from board members? All right. Heather, any last comments from you?
Spring is
staff?
almost here. I don't think we
Excellent.
have anything else, but thank you all for your time. We appreciate you being here today.
Okay, well then, thank you, everybody. We will adjourn this meeting at 11:18. Everybody have a great day.
For the weekend.
Thank you, Chair Wessel.